No, you're okay.
Oh, that's not bad. Look like I'm bouncing the ball on my head. Are we live?
About to be. Yes.
It's like just not big enough.
Hello. Can you see us?
It's a spirit bomb.
Channel.
Someone Photoshop this.
I don't know that. Hear us.
Your hair is beautiful.
Can you hear us?
Check.
Hello, can you hear us?
Can you hear our voices?
Can you hear us?
Voices?
We can hear you. Okay, cool.
She's like, yeah.
It took forever to hear back from you guys.
Sorry, it's not showing up on, like, the meters aren't showing up, so I didn't want to assume. Okay. Ooh, can I grab your mouse, Josh, so we can track the chat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you can just use the armrest or something.
Cool, I appreciate that. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Danny's coming. That's why I'm back here.
Yep, Danny's coming. And also, we just don't like Josh.
Yeah.
Hello.
The smell.
Welcome to the December 2019 live stream Q&A. Back of the room, Josh.
Yay! Spirit bomb!
So we're gonna be looking at multiple spots. We've got the camera here, but the chat's up there. So if we're looking up there, we're not like looking past you. We're not trying to ignore you guys. So welcome to the last live stream Q&A, not only of the year, but of the decade.
Wow.
Because we're not nerds who knows that the decade starts technically 2021, but whatever. So
that's like the fact that 12 p.m. is in the middle of the day.
Okay.
And 12 a.m. is at the beginning of the day. Even though the first number in the a.m. should be 1, right? You know what I'm talking about? 12 a.m. is midnight.
What are we doing?
12 p.m. is noon. But that's not the beginning of the noon. It's the end of the noon. Right?
Military time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna...
Isn't that weird? Does no one else think that's weird?
AM and PM mean different things, though.
But shouldn't 1 a.m. be the beginning of the a.m.? Why is 12 a.m. the beginning of
It's just a thing.
This
like,
is why he's in the back of the room.
This is why he's in the back. No, military time is 0. Like, midnight is 0.
So the 12 is arbitrary, really?
Yeah, it's just for simplicity, so we don't have to say 21, 20, 23.
I see.
It's not like time zones, which my theory makes total sense about.
It's Russia, guys. They invented 12 o'clock.
Reed, I have questions, and I feel like you may answer one of them. That's a great segue, Ellen. So if you do have a question that you want to ask, be sure to put in all caps, question, : then your question. That is the best way for us to see it on the screen. So again, if you have questions, fire away. Fire away with anything. It can be about Volume 1. It can be about Volume 2. It can be about the holiday episode. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was the longest edit of my life.
Yeah, that's a big episode.
2.5 hours. And it can be about our lives. It can be about the Kansas City Chiefs, who are well on their way to a first-round bye, dab on the Patriots. Anywho, yeah, so lots of things you can ask us
Reed's
about.
in a good mood, so he might give you all kinds of lore today.
That's right. If when the Chiefs game ends and we end up winning, I might just tell you the ending.
Ask all the hard questions.
I might just give you the ending. Got one that came in. Melia, question. Hi, Melia. Hi, Kaylee. Hi, Ellen. Hi, it's me. Hi, Brandon, Kenny. Good to see you guys. Do bionics have their own language like other races? So I've actually thought about this.
Binary.
I thought about doing something like Thieves Can't.
Ooh, okay.
Something that like only other robots know, which I think would be interesting. So they don't have it. They don't have it currently, but I've considered it. It would be kind of fun, yeah, like an R2-D2 kind of thing, like how R2 and 3PO can interact with each other, and it could be in total secret. No one knows. Question: Reed, tell us about time zones from Miss Marvel. Hi, Miss Marvel.
We have Miss Marvel.
Tell us about time zones. Okay, I'll condense it. I think time zones are arbitrary. I think they shouldn't exist. I think we should all just follow
space time,
British Standard Time. So if it's 2 p.m. in England, in Greenwich, England, it's 2 p.m. everywhere. And so I wouldn't work from 8 to 5 anymore. I would work from 2 to 11. But I'd be going at the same time of day. Just I'd be going from 2 to 11. I think the whole point of time zones is stupid because not everyone follows them.
Also, with time dilation, how does that work?
Yeah, magnets. Think about it.
Changes the game.
Question from Kaylee. Oh, this is a fun question for me. Reed, how did you get into the Chiefs? So my dad's cousin used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is actually
Dan Marino.
It's Dan Marino. He's actually enshrined in the Ring of Honor in Arrowhead. Yeah, and so his bust is in like the fan zone in the stadium. And when I was like 6 years old, I was looking for a team because I didn't like the Dallas Cowboys anymore. And my dad said, "Well, you have a family member who used to play for the Chiefs." And when I'm 7, I go, "That's all I need to know." My name is on the back of that dude's jersey.
Now he bleeds KC red.
Yep. Now it's literally everything. It's
Like a little brighter, a little more orange than regular blood.
Yeah. Question from Brandon: why is Mike just so good at RP? That's a great question.
A lot of post edits.
A lot of post edits.
I like to come in after the fact.
I bring him in for recordings afterwards.
He does post voiceover.
Yeah.
You guys just don't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reed just waits for all the laughs and just enters in your line.
That's right.
Before.
That's right.
A lot of monologuing.
I remember the moment I realized when I was editing Sneak Attack that what would happen is someone would come up with a weird thought and they would share it. Usually it was Danny or me. And then Kelsey and Reed would make fun of it. And then you would utter a single line and the whole table would burst out in laughter. Somehow you took this dumb thing we were all trying to make jokes with and actually made it funny.
You know what's funny is the Christmas episode has an example of that where like everyone built off of the same initial joke and it was funny every time.
When we riff, it's one of my favorite things on Sneak Attack.
When Josh throws the javelin and yells Jordan is one of my favorite things. I did not I forgot it happened too, so I'm listeing to the edit.
I re-listened to that moment.
Oh my gosh, I'm just like crying, laughing, and then Mike goes Ewing, which is embarrassingly.
I did not know that would be that funny.
And then Kelsey goes Bird. It's just like everything just kept getting funnier.
Basketball.
It was so great. The Jordan line just got me, and it took me by surprise.
It's where I was trying to make a joke, but not the kind of joke that it ended up being.
Right.
You know.
Right. But it was perfect. It was
the joke ended up being Josh doesn't know sports and is dumb.
I thought you were doing a riff on Kobe because Carlton is such a bro.
Oh. I guess.
Yeah.
It worked. It's deep role playing, guys. This is really deep.
I really thought you were committed.
But Mike, what's the real secret to your role playing?
The real secret, I don't know.
It's just Mike.
A troubled past.
Ooh.
A lot of pent up emotions.
He's got a lot of drama to pull on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be serious. I've said this before, but it's the people at the table. I think if you got a good table around you, it's really easy to RP, and really good people around you that can RP as well. So
yeah, comfort level.
Yeah. So I would just say. How I get so good is just the people around me.
Yeah.
So.
Right
on. Cool. Amelia, will you tell me about Tegan? If you ask me a question about Tegan, I'll tell you. Is the Dolphins-Patriots game over yet? Because if so, and the Dolphins win, I'll tell you whatever you want.
It's got to be Danny. That's got to be the
Dano? No. I don't know.
Just a robber.
The dog was barking, and we thought it was Danny. Question, can you tell us something we don't know about the Labyrinth?
Ooh. Gosh, yeah, that was a big mystery you seeded at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yeah. Like, is
that the loaded gun, Reed?
The loaded gun? No. I think that I will answer a specific question you have, but I'm not just gonna be like, Danny, what is interesting in here, and just start like giving you things. So if you have a specific question, I would consider.
Oh, are there more treasures? In the Labyrinth?
Were there more treasures in the Labyrinth? No.
Okay.
Was it based off the movie?
It's based off the movie. Yeah, you missed David Bowie.
Oh.
This question.
That's too bad, mate.
Question from Alan. Question: if they took Chip back to the capture maze now that his mind is free, would the maze react differently to him? Yes.
Oh. Interesting.
Yes.
Why?
So it has a connection to AI.
That's a great question. Phoenix rejects your concepts of time zones. Listen, it's a bold thought, but no change happens without bold steps. It just takes the right person or the right group of people to really think outside the box.
Yeah, why do we need a 12?
Think about it. Chiefs won, dab on them. Dolphins won, dab on them.
Wow.
First round bye. I can't believe I get to say this.
No way.
Chiefs get a first round bye. At least one game goes through Arrowhead.
That's awesome, man.
Feels good, man. I think I'm going to go to that one.
That's a great way to start the playoffs.
Going to go to the divisional game. Question: would Chip see the other robots of his series as brothers or more as clones? Will we see more of his model around? That's a really good question.
Oh, wow.
It's me,
I hadn't thought about that.
I would say more like brothers, but at the same time, like.
Now that you're free, your will is freed. How do you think you'd see them?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, if you saw another robot like you, would you have any type of connection to it at all?
No.
Okay.
Not that my mind is free. I think maybe. I don't know, from like a lore perspective, I think as just like a player, it'd be fun to have a connection there. But I don't know, as like, hey, we have the same motherboard.
Motherboard. Motherboard.
What if they were like, I'm a newer model of the chip, and
yeah, I don't know.
I'm better than you are.
I don't know. I like digging into more of like having like that thieves sort of thing too. I think there could be some cool stuff there to put in like the world book or something like that. But yeah. Oh.
You can make up your own slang language.
That's a really cool question. That's a really good question. Have not considered it, but brother from another motherboard, Omega lol. That needs to be a T-shirt, bro.
What about brotherboard from another motherboard?
Nope. Then you ruined it. It's over.
Just want to make sure.
Question from Brandon: why was the Labyrinthian anti-AI, anti-robot? That I'm not going to answer.
Ooh, too deep.
It's just like it was meant to be mysterious for a reason. Obviously, setting something up. So to give that away would be a disservice to the storytelling method. But I mean, like, obviously, you guys know that, like, there's more to the maze. Question: what is a first round bye? It's actually BYE, like bye. It means that you don't have to play a game the first week of the playoffs. You automatically jump to the next team, like. So there's 6 teams in the AFC, which is where the Chiefs are. 4 teams will play each other to start, and then the winner of those 2 games play the teams with the first round bye. So that's the Ravens, and now that's the Chiefs.
Is this in a single elimination?
Single elimination.
So it's not like a loser's bracket.
Nope, losing you're out.
Okay. I'm learning as well, guys.
Yeah, Josh has actually been learning more about football this season. It's been fun. Question from Ellen. Question: is the cool fidget spinner from the maze exclusive to the mystery aliens, or is it something they could find from more normal sources? I will tell you that I think the fidget spinner is not as important as people think it is. It was just a fun item that I put in.
It's a lie. It's super duper important.
It was just a fun item that I put in to like give them something to find while they were searching. But I mean, like, it's also cool. Okay, we're at the end. Josh has tested the limits and found them all. That's right. It's Egypt.
I know where the ceiling is, guys, and the floor.
He's an explorer in the same way that I'm exploring the concepts of time zones. So just if you dislike time zones, you also dislike Josh.
Wow.
Or dislike my time zone theory, more specifically. Question from Brandon: Reed, are the Huskers your favorite college team? I have no favorite college team. If I had to root for anybody, it would be the Huskers. But I have no I guess I have allegiances, but I don't really have like, heart pains when they lose type of thing.
Wake Forest.
Do you enjoy watching college football?
No.
I've heard people say they enjoy watching college ball better than pro ball.
A lot of people in Lincoln do.
We're a college football town, but I found that college game like pro games are intense sometimes. At the just the athletic level of the competition.
Yeah, I don't really want to turn this into like the Sneak Attack Sports Corner, or maybe
he does. I do actually,
but
he's trying to be faithful.
But I don't like college football because there's a real lack of parity. It's really the same 4 or 5 teams that are always good, who will always continue to be good because they get the best recruits because they're good. Mm-hmm. So the best players want to play for the best schools, and that just keeps making the best schools even better. So it's really hard. It's not impossible, but it's really hard for a team to start from like nothing and become good. And so just because it's so lopsided in college football, it's really hard to root for it, like to root for any team besides the Big Five. And so if you lose one game in college, you're more or less eliminated from any playoff or national title contention. But like the best teams in the NFL have lost 3 games. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like there's just so much more parity there, and there's like 5 teams who have lost 3 games or fewer. And so there's a lot of really quality talent that isn't so like neck and neck that one loss just like throws you completely out of the mix of everyone else. So, and the playoff system in the NFL is a lot better. Roll Tide or Boomer Sooner. I will never root for Oklahoma. I have nothing against Alabama. They're good. They're like the Patriots. People like to hate them because they're so good.
Roll Tide. That's just such a funny chant. I love it.
Can I get a Roll Tide?
Roll Tide.
Question. This is from It's Me, you know. Josh, when you went for the one-on-one ancient combat, it was great and spontaneous. Agreed. Mm-hmm. Have you and Reed made more rules and lore around the old ways because of it?
We haven't, not officially. I was actually commenting to Reed in our bonus podcast, like how grateful I was that he was willing to kind of run with that with me, because I made that up on the spot and he was responding on the spot. So there's kind of something fun to that being kind of ambiguous, and like up to like Reed could come up to me with the character and be like, it's the old ways, and then I'd be like, you got it. Like there's just something kind of fun and like I don't know, it makes the world feel a little more like lived in with that kind of stuff. And it was a fun gambit to see him respond that way.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll push it. You know what I mean?
I mean, this was true in Volume 1 as well, but anytime that the players, not just Josh, like injected lore into the story, even as it's happening, I can't think of a single time where like my initial response was, let's like, no, that doesn't jive. Let's like talk about this before we make it canon. I just like, if Josh says this is how the Brax used to do it, I'm going to say yes, probably. Unless he says that they used to have like 6 arms and 2 heads. I'm be like, well, let's.
Or when Danny goes like, my character always rolls natural 20s.
Yeah. And so I trust the players, kind of like Mike was saying, like there's a certain amount of trust at the table where they know their characters really well. They understand their race, and they know where my perspective is on how this has come along. And so if they want to say like Ardent can do this or Onyx have this, I'm usually going to say yes, let's figure it out and then make it official. Even if we have to tweak it along the way, I'm never going to turn down inspiration from the people who are in it with me. It just seems silly to like silo yourself off like that.
Oh yeah. That's the like one of the biggest rules in improv is not to say no, but yes and.
Mm-hmm. Reed, you already named 50% of your world after the Chiefs. It's already the Sneak Attack Sports Corner, but it's not obvious. I'm not talking about playoff scenarios or anything. I'm just talking about just like subtle references. Question, can you talk about halting problems as you understand them? Because I'm very confused about them. Halting problems, yeah. So it's not necessarily something I want, like, I didn't want to create a whole big thing with it. I'm good, thanks. I didn't necessarily want to like turn the maze portion of season 1 into like a halting problem, even though I know that's what it is.
What?
I don't know what he's talking about still. What is halt? What are you talking about halting?
A halting problem. It's like the last question that.
The reason that Chip got halted.
I don't think that's exactly like what the terminology means, but it's like a question with no answer kind of thing.
Halting.
Because the robot asked something. It was like not the robot. The little hologram asked if you wager a friend that your watch will stop. When can you, or your watch will never stop? When are you proven right or wrong? And that's a halting problem.
Where the computer is having so much trouble processing that it can't process and it malfunctions.
Right. It's like a logic. It's sometimes called a logical loop or a logical fallacy, or like
right. Like this statement is a lie.
Exactly. Something like that. And so like I don't know enough about halting problems to speak on any type of authority about them, but I know what I pitched in that scenario was a halting problem.
We should talk to are there people who are researching AI in Lincoln, Nebraska? We should bring them on. Talk to them about it.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Just me, I
Best
guess.
Buy, I think.
Yeah, just get a Geek Squad member.
Yeah.
There we go.
You guys doing any?
We should
AI
talk.
here?
Let's call Elon. See if he'll come to Sneak Attack.
You might.
We already got Marcus Brownlee to wear our T-shirts.
And Marquez and Elon have had conversations, so maybe
I'm
we can
just
just.
saying. Yeah, we're two
2
there.
degrees of separation from Elon Musk, you guys.
Yeah.
We're a big deal.
We want a Cybertruck.
So in this contest, it's just a paradox type statement to freak out a robot. Kind of, yeah. Like, it was certainly meant to be paradoxical. And there's a certain. I don't want to call it a Turing test either because.
That's to prove whether or not they're sentient.
Right. But I'd say it's like a mix between a paradox and a Turing test is what the hologram was going for.
It was like a paradox of the Turing test.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm just talking. That's usually my problem.
But yeah, that's so. Like I said, I don't have an exact, sentiment or statement on a halting problem in this specific example that I feel like I could, like I said, speak with any type of authority on.
Did you see? Cass said the final boss combat of Volume 2 is just a football game.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down. I did also say that you guys would find the rare element Mahomium at some point. This question from Amelia for Mike. Mike, what did you want for Christmas?
What I want for Christmas? I didn't want anything, really. I mean, I'm at the dad mode, so I was like, I want a new toilet. I want a new back door. I want a new... And no one got me that stuff. They got me like a sweatshirt. And
No one got you a back door. Can't imagine.
No, I was like, it's like $1,000. I don't know what we're doing here. So yeah, I don't know. It's all about the kids. I didn't really want anything. So
yeah, it's funny how how that happens, but you don't there's no conscious brain switch that tells you that it's happening.
Yeah, it's usually I can get the stuff that I want, so I don't really have things I now need to wait for. Or
right.
I don't know. There's I want very specific things, but I feel awkward telling people, and I'm like, never mind. I'll just you don't have to do all that. Just give me a gift card, which doesn't feel good to give, but I don't really care.
That was something Reed and I were talking about on the bonus podcast, was how has wish lists made getting gifts less significant.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting someone something they asked for
rather
than getting them a gift based
on
how well you know them. Yeah.
And so I tell Tiffany, this is for as long as we've been together, I've told Tiffany that if she tells me directly what she wants, I will not get it for her.
Bold.
That's Reed love. That's such a perfect picture.
It is love. Kind of like
do not tell me how to like you. I will decide how.
It is a bit of a vignette of my personality, but it's just I know we talked about this on the bonus podcast, but giving gifts means so much to me that I don't want to. I just want to phone it in.
Yeah.
So it becomes it almost becomes a test to myself to be I want Tiffany to tell me what she wants in secret through hints or nods or something, and I need to be a good enough husband to pick up on that and to jot that down. So, bye, Ellen. I hope you have a good
Sunday.
Yes, good Sunday.
Good luck with the Turing test.
Good New
we
Year.
Hope you pass.
See you in the next year.
Question.
It's the cringe joke that everybody likes to do.
This is from It's Me You Know question. Mike, as Chip is a robot,
okay, well,
he likely did not see a flaw in his design as he could do what he was programmed to do. Now with free will, what design flaws would he notice in himself? Wow. That's a deep question. There's a lot to unpack there.
He just went through a big moody phase.
Mike, his Chip is a bro-bot. Is that a negative thing? Okay, or are you saying my guy robot?
Or is that a bro grandma?
He likely did not see a flaw. You're assuming there's flaws. There's a lot of assumptions in this question. Flaw in his design. I see what he's trying. Now with the free will, what design flaw? None. Obviously. What are we saying here?
First of all,
it's me,
he's not a robot.
What are we doing here?
it's now that when you were before you had your inhibitions removed, you had a very specific set of instructions, and
we haven't got to this episode, right? I don't think we have.
But
But
we've defeated the
no, we haven't got to. You
Either.
guys haven't got the episode, but there is something like that that will come up. Where I'm not gonna say.
it would have to be just the next episode because
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Oh,
Which is like
yeah. Okay.
it's not a flaw.
Yeah.
But I would say it's like the way he was made. He is departing from that. And
Yeah.
I'm probably saying too much, but it's very something. I'm done. But yeah, no, there's not. I don't think there. That's assuming that I have lore that I put flaws in myself in that way. But I would say mostly coming back around. What were
He's not a robot.
the directives? So I think the directives were more of a thing where he would see that as a flaw, maybe not so much a flaw, but something that he doesn't have to do anymore. But from the people at the table, it seems like a flaw, probably. Or I put that so, and I was like, man, that's really hard to RP a character that can only do 3 things. But it was still fun. So I don't know if there's any design flaws per se. Not yet. Could be though.
I'm curious, Reed. Can I ask you a question?
Fire away.
Was Chip getting freed from his inhibitions? His inhibition, like chip or whatever it was that was kind of holding his character within his perimeters. Was it part of the plan for for Sneak Attack Volume 2 that he would become freed from it at some point?
Nope.
That's a total we just took it there and you rode with it. So it feels so integral to the story at this point. But I guess that's just
Well, it is now.
that's just a good story feature.
No, yeah, like it is now. You know, I don't jump to conclusions when I say this. I'm just using this as an example because it's the first thing I thought of. But like when we started the Dathmaros portion of that arc in Volume 1, I never knew that both Akio and Sherwood would peace out at that point, or however it worked out.
Yeah.
The Colonel. Yeah, I didn't know that the Colonel and Sherwood would peace out at that point. Let alone did I know that would come back to be how you guys defeated Valsar. You know, so like because of how the story went, I steered the ship in a direction that I thought really like gave weight to those decisions. So even now, I've kind of like charted a new path, but to the same destination. We're just taking a detour that will involve Chip's sentience and you know
that's cool.
Mental freedom a lot more than it ever would have in the past.
You're being like the robot being freed from its directives has been one of the most entertaining facets this volume, in my opinion.
I think, yeah, I mean it's lined up that way. I mean, it's not like a thing of like, hey, we should go this direction because it feels like it's going in a nice way. I think we have conversations where it's like we do see that like, oh, there could be something here where we should really lean into that. But I think one of the things is when we first start the season, we don't talk like we don't get together beforehand, and minus Reed, like we kind of know from Reed, like here's kind of the setting, but us as people at the table, we don't really we never talk and say, hey, I'm playing Chip, I kind of do this, and this, and be like, hey, what are you doing, to kind of feel out how this team dynamic, like if we could go back in time, I would have leaned a ton more. It's like everybody's like waiting to get in the pool, so we're kind of just dipping our toes in a little bit to be like, is this cool if I play this character this way? So I think it's like one of those things where it's like as we started to really like go down those routes, it was like it takes a little longer, right? And I think that's why I think the feedback is always like it takes a few episodes, even for us at the table, because it's like, you know, we start off in the spaceship and you just, you know, I would love to go back to that point where our characters are now to be like, it would just be a different dynamic of us all on that spaceship.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly wouldn't change. I wouldn't even change that stuff.
Well, just to like play it,
sure,
you know, just to have a better direction for me.
But like, I think part of what I love about D&D, and even more so our podcast in particular, and this applies to Volume 1 and Volume 2, is we like you guys are figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
Not like I'm figuring it out as you go, but like you guys are creating your characters as you're telling them, like as you're playing them.
Right.
And there's so much growth as a character, even for like characters like T, who are kind of have an ambiguous background. And we haven't done her character episode yet, so we don't really know what her whole mission is about. But like, if you go back and look at T in even season 1 to where she is now, totally different not personality, totally different behavioral patterns that we see. She's so much more comfortable in that character. But I think that's also T as a character being more comfortable in her established role within the party.
It works like in the story as well as at the
right.
Yeah.
And so to have everyone be like, I'm 100% confident in my character, I know who they are, I know everything about blah, 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 and then start like recording, I feel like we miss out on a lot of those moments of discovery, like self-discovery.
Well, I feel like
actualization.
Like my favorite example is probably Kelsey and Mike, right? Because you guys didn't know each other very much before we started Sneak Attack. And you can see kind of the Brenna Sherwood interactions, the way that they grew and you guys became friends. And then the characters became friends. You know what I mean? And there's this kind of cool. I feel like that's the most extreme version, but I feel like that kind of growth happened across the board with all of us at the table. Just getting as we grew closer together as a friend group, our characters were also growing tighter as a team, or at least the chemistry was growing stronger. Even if it was like antithesis kind of chemistry, where it was fighting each other, we were more comfortable, like pushing, and riffing and. And I feel like, when we came back for season 2, we all were kind of still rusty, like we hadn't gamed in a little while. And so we were kind of getting the kinks out. And in a very similar way, I feel like the characters, the party, that crew or whatever, I feel like they were kind of still trying to figure themselves out. And so the development that it's all had, I think in real life does kind of mirror what's been happening in the story. And I think that's partially due to just what happens in a D&D group. But I think also it has to do, I want to give some credit to Reed and the fact that I think he kind of lets it move that way. Does that make sense? He never really fights our character interactions as a DM, which I've seen before, but I'm really grateful that you don't.
Yeah. I know that Sneak Attack is at its best when I get out of the way. I just like give you guys the tools and let you build what you want. And so, that's one of the worst things I can do, and I think one of the worst things any DM can do, unless you have to intervene because people are being toxic or something. But one of the worst things you can do is start saying like, no, that's not what your character would do, or no, like do this, blah blah blah. It's like let them figure that out for themselves, because the game master, dungeon master's job is to create a fun story and a fun situation for the players. And if you're constantly telling them, no, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, that's not fun. No one wants to be told no, especially in a world where like anything is possible.
Yeah.
The question from Amelia, are we confirmed getting Chip's character episode this break? I think so.
Ooh.
I think so. Mike and I have talked about it. I think we're in a really good spot. It'll just come down to like the execution of it to make sure that we can hit all the beats that I think need to get hit, and just writing an outline that allows us to really land on those moments and communicate them effectively. It'll be a little tougher than what we did with Ethan's, but I'm really looking forward to it.
So are you going to get to actually like role play Chip with the directives?
It'll probably all be like scripted.
Okay.
But it's really just about like finding those key moments and those key themes that we need to land on, and just like really selling them.
Cool.
Because you write something down, you never know how it sounds like out loud until you actually at the table saying it, and so it can be just kind of tricky to get that right. Question. Oh, from Kenny. Okay, do you remember the diner guy from Clone Wars? I think you mean Attack of the Clones. Is it fair for me to use him as my mental picture of Lucky? I think you can, if you want to say that Dex from Attack of the Clones is
tighter abs. That's the only thing I would request.
Is Lucky. I think that's fair. There is, however, official art of Brax on our website, sneakpodcast.com/blog, where you can see official art by Adam Kovar, incredible artist, illustrator, who has done official artwork for all the races, not just the Brax. So I think that's probably the best way to get a mental picture of what they look like. But you do your thing. I'm not going to say no. Miss Marvel, question, speaking of Volume 1, what is the PNMV Juno and why is it at the bottom of the Pearl? That is a fine question. Not one I'm going to answer right now.
Maybe when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I will tell you about the PNMV Juno. One of my favorite things about Sneak Attack is that you guys don't just derail Reed, you derail each other. Yeah. I mean, like, I totally get what you're saying, though, Snoot. I think that's a great observation. It's not just about the players against me or me against the players. We're all just, like, having this collaborative story. And I point out oftentimes at the end of the episode when I'm, like, thanking patrons, which is, of course, you guys, that I'm always grateful for you guys supporting collaborative storytelling, which I'm very specific to call that out and not just saying for supporting Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop games or anything like that. Because to me, D&D is almost like the medium. Mm-hmm. It's the foundation of which the story is built. But the story itself can be told without like the rule set of D&D. Obviously, that's what Volume 2 is. I'm just more concerned about telling a good story and telling it with my friends. And so, yeah, and all of that to say is we have to derail each other in order for that story to grow and to fester into something better than the sum of its parts.
And I think it's good to reiterate that, like, in real life, we don't derail each other all the time.
True.
We're a very supportive and like loving group in real life. But in the game, we do that partially because of how close we are in real life. We know how to kind of play that way without it becoming a personal problem or some kind of weird, like sideways critique of the person themselves. And so I think it's good. Like, we got there because we've become close as friends. So I've seen some groups try and go there without the relationship behind it, and you can end up hurting people's feelings. So it's important not to just see something you like and then emulate it, but understand like part of the reason that we are the way we are, and hopefully you'll find a group that you can kind of grow with like that. And then when you are able to have those kind of derailing moments, it's never like spiteful or angry or emotion driven, but just fun for everybody.
Yeah. Even though, again, I said this before, but there were a couple times where I was very convinced Mike was actually mad at me, me, the person, the human being. And then the conversation was over and it was totally fine. It was very funny. Question, do you guys have New Year's resolutions? This room, it's me, you know?
No. I don't really get into those.
I think it's
fine.
I feel like I make resolutions like all the time. So I just start the
Ooh, how about a resolution to stop making resolutions?
It's a great idea. I just mean like the whole idea of like, I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. And I hope that I'm better today than I was yesterday. And that's kind of my goal forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like a resolution sometimes it feels cheap. Like a cheap version of self-improvement. Does that make sense?
I mean, it's only cheap if you have no plans on following through.
That's kind of what happens, like most of the time. That's the joke.
Not
right?
for Reed. Not for every year that he makes one. He carves it into his skin.
Yeah. I'm tattooed like that guy from Memento.
I feel like we set up really, really strategic goals for ourselves, and then if we don't reach them, we get very disappointed and angry, or sometimes we even double back when we realize we're not going to reach it. And I just don't think there's any reason to kick yourself for trying to reach a goal. So I feel like that's my. Does that make sense?
I think it just depends on the person.
You're saying a lot of "does this make sense today?" You should just gotta be like.
I think it just makes sense. It depends person to person. I have goals that I'm setting for myself for 2020. I wouldn't necessarily call them resolutions, but I have a list of goals that I think. I mean, my wife and I are moving, so there's a lot of things going into
Scottsdale.
We're moving to Scottsdale, Arizona. So
can you give them the address?
325 North South
Coyote Lane.
Coyote Lane. So, but just like Josh said, it's not necessarily about like kicking yourself if you fail or anything like that. It's just, set reasonable goals, achieve them, or and move and continually make them like the next iteration of them. Or if you don't achieve them, circle back and figure out why you didn't, and try and achieve a different, more like realistic version of that goal, or just try again a different way. You know, it's like I said, it's different for everybody. Amelia says, "I want to know who Walter is." Oh, sorry, I did miss a question. I'm not exactly sure what that question is, Amelia, but we'll
The
get back to that.
Walter.
Right. I mean, like,
Who is he? Is it a person?
Or was that part of Chip's
Is it a dog?
backstory?
oh, interesting. I see. It's me. No question. Josh and Mike, who would you say your character's best friend is? Doesn't have to be someone in the party.
Lucky, it's his dad.
What's Lucky's dad's name?
I haven't come up with it. Should I need to make it up right now?
You don't have to make it up right now if you're not going to be happy.
I feel like I need to ask you some questions before I do that.
Fair.
That would reveal maybe too much.
Dongo.
Dongo?
Yeah.
That's your best friend?
No, that's your dad's name.
Oh.
And then he has like a super long.
Would that be a good? If I told him that he's a
super long last
Super long last name.
Yeah.
Very pleased with yourself.
No, not really, but best friend. We probably haven't met that person yet, or we haven't talked about it. I don't know.
Definitely not one of the crew members.
No.
Yeah, that seems unlikely.
That's silly.
Amelia wants to know who Walter is. Again, I'm pretty sure it's just Chip. But if you're talking about Chip's backstory, I mean,
That's personal.
Walter might be there. Speaking of art, I was going to ask what Cigar looks like, but it's too late now. I don't know that it's too late. I mean,
You described him.
yeah, I mean, I did describe him. He's shorter for an ardent, not like, a foot shorter.
So 4 eyes.
4 eyes, bright red hair, like dark, bright red hair.
Robed, right?
Yeah, he just wears robes with the cinched knot around his waist, and then those the triangle chains.
That Lucky has now.
Dongo's super long. Yeah.
Dongo's super long. Is that what you meant when you said that? When you said his last name?
I don't know.
Super
I
long?
just feel like that's a good name.
Dongo's super
Said that.
Kenny, question: did the party in the holiday episode
God.
miss out on encounters with other Volume 1 or one-shot characters? I was really looking for Saturn or the Infamous Muffin Man.
Ooh.
Nope. It was never intended to run into any other characters. Again, because I wrote the campaign before we knew who the players were going to be. So I couldn't, really inject them in a way that would feel anything but, shoehorned in anyways. So I wrote the campaign, and then we recorded after drawing names. So there's really no room to do that. Question from Kaylee. Why didn't Westra get a cameo in the Christmas special? Because in this alternate reality, non-canonical reality, Westra never existed.
Whoa.
So
Now they're going to hate the Christmas episode.
big brain play. Question from Benjamin. What up, Benjamin? Are you guys watching The Witcher, and what are your thoughts? I have been watching The Witcher.
Did you finish it?
No. I'm 2 episodes in, and I shut it off in the middle of the second episode because I just went, this show's bad.
I loved it. I loved it. They're following the story, from the books and stuff.
That's fine.
I liked it.
It's fine.
I was sad at the opening sequence. That was the only part that made me really sad.
That's a bad answer, and you should feel bad. I think she means about Westra.
Yes, that's definitely what she's talking about.
I think
I'm a sucker for fantasy, though, man. That's the deal.
I mean, it's fine.
It wasn't terrible acting across the board.
It wasn't great acting across the board. The script's pretty below average for me.
The graphics wise, I thought it was impressive.
Effects are good. The world is convincing.
Cinematography was fun.
Yeah. I don't like that they film it at 30 frames per second. Can't understand that.
That is a weird choice.
I have no idea why they chose 30 frames. Mm-hmm. Legitimately,
it's a video game.
Yeah, that's what my thought was. It's
got to be
but it bothers me. I mean, if they want to do a video game, then do 60.
It's a funky choice.
It actually bothered me so much that the first episode really got to me.
I just don't like that he killed that deer. That made me so upset.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, they're opening up with a CG fight. I was kind of impressed.
Yeah.
And then he's like, guess it's not your day. And I was like, no.
I think so far too.
I was so upset.
The first 2 episodes of the show, there hasn't been a lot of attachments. You Renly or whatever that gal's name is. You're like, oh, she's an interesting character, born under a eclipse and everything's evil. It's like, I'm interested, and it's like, nope, you're not interested anymore. I was like, dang it, like I want they do this thing which I'm really pissed off about the Mandalorian. They do this
I'm
too.
about to say, I knew you were going to bring this up.
Is like they have just these self-contained episodes that don't really serve the larger story at a whole. And maybe they do, like maybe it all comes together. The Mandalorian tried that and it sucked. But like maybe it comes together and it's a lot more effective than in The Witcher. But I just like me as a viewer, I'm losing interest each episode because I know it doesn't actually feed a larger story. And so that was just difficult for me.
I think they do expect you to know some of the lore.
Yeah.
And
a lot of the lore.
To already be bought into like fantasy genre. So if that's something that doesn't like check one of your boxes for entertainment, you probably won't enjoy it, to be completely honest. So if you don't like, the Law of Surprise was very confusing. If you don't understand what the Law of Surprise is, they don't do a good job of explaining it in the series.
Well, and like, obviously the comparisons between this and Game of Thrones are going to be constant, but Game of Thrones did a much better job at like drip feeding you information about the history of the world.
Right.
And literally you learn about an invasion from a warring group as it's happening with no idea as to why they're going to war.
And honestly, the stakes of what you're witnessing in the first like half of
completely
the show,
unknown.
The stakes of a lot of the events you witness don't matter. You won't understand the like value of them until you've seen the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Or if you know the story already. So
From
that's
the
why
game?
No, they're books. The Witcher was a series of books.
But the game does go through it's the same story. Like they're not telling a new story.
Right. She even references the Wild Hunt in the first episode, and that's the whole entire arc of the third game is the Wild Hunt.
Well, and I think two of the main characters in the game is the princess girl, the blonde-haired princess girl, and Geralt.
Well, Yennefer is a huge like focus in the game as well.
She's with him in the game, isn't she?
Yeah, and Triss, she's in it as well.
So there's a lot of connections.
Yeah, and it's fine. Like again, I agree with Josh. It's well made.
It's a good if it's just like a love song to the game and the lore, just showing you stuff. I think people will enjoy it for that. But if you're looking for like something like a cinematic marvel, you're probably not going to find it.
Yeah. Someone once asked if the Walter was named after someone and Chip shed a single tear. Oh, that's what you mean by Walter? We were probably just riffing there. I don't know. Question, Reed, what shows do you like?
That's a great question.
Breaking Bad. I mean, like,
I think that Reed likes to not like things sometimes.
The Wire, Breaking Bad. I mean, like, those are literally the best two shows ever made.
I detect no lies.
Yeah.
So.
Huge fan of. Well, so I was super into Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
Chernobyl was also great this year, by the way.
Man, that was really good.
Watchmen, all of Chernobyl was fantastic. All 6 episodes. There wasn't a single bad episode. It was great. Watchmen was great for 6 episodes, and then it kind of dropped the ball the last 2. I guess there was 9 episodes. So, like, it was great for 7 episodes, and the last 2 were kind of not good.
What do you think of season 1 of Daredevil?
Season 1 of Daredevil I thought was really good. Everything after that is poop.
Not as good, yes.
But Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, anything with Vince Gilligan involved, I'm down. Anything with Simon, what's that guy's name who did The Wire? I'm totally blanking on the guy's name.
I never watched The Wire.
Hero season 1.
No.
What?
Reed loves anime. It's true. I'm all about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Northern Exposure. I'm a huge fan of that as well.
I actually think that Reed can enjoy stuff more than he lets on. I think you're just very critical.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, I think that you can enjoy elements of a thing that you are very critical.
For
of,
sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I honestly like a lot of things. Community is probably one of my favorite comedies of all time. Seinfeld, Arrested Development, Parks and Rec, some of my favorite comedies.
Those are great.
But much like every show that doesn't know when to end, those comedies all turn terrible after a while. Arrested Development after season 3, terrible. Community after season 3, terrible. Simpsons overstayed its welcome for longer than it should have. Like, it's been bad longer than it's been good. That's an impressive feat. Seinfeld was perfect. It ended exactly when it needed to. It ended on a high note. It was always great. Community is what got you interested in D&D. I think there's a comment about to pop up that'll.
Oh, is the TV behind the chat?
Yeah, the TV's just like slightly behind the chat. Man, it's apparently really behind the chat.
Is it really?
Yeah. Community is what got someone interested in D&D. I can't exactly see the name.
Can we
yes.
reload it?
Will
that load all?
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, it'll happen eventually. And yes, community is what got me interested in D&D. Then I played my first game of 4th edition and just fell in love ever since. So I'm trying to come up with a good tagging question, and I can't miss this opportunity. You might want to reload it, actually. It's just being kind of
It's just kind of staying there.
Yeah, just or maybe I can reload it from here. Yeah, I can. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, so community is what got me interested in D&D. Kenny, that's awesome. Like, the exact same for me. That episode is so good. I literally just rewatched it about a week ago, and I laugh every time. The writing in that episode is perfect, and the pacing is perfect, and it's really great.
I do think that you can learn more about like storytelling and cinematography from things you don't like than from things you like. So, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Reed's good at storytelling is because he is a very strong critic. And so he's constantly looking for the things that break a story or make it not work. And because of that, I think you're really good at crafting story and poking all the holes where you need to poke them so you can make it as good as it can.
I think I've actually been thinking about this over the last couple of weeks, and I think I'm good at coming up with stories, or at least crafting a story arc. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of my strengths. But I think communicating those ideas in a succinct, clear way is not always something I'm strong at. And so kind of like world building. I love world building because I can come up with histories and races and lores and motivations and politics and all this fun stuff. But then like condensing all those ideas down into something that's digestible for an audience is a challenge for me. And that's just something I think you get better at as you do. I mean,
practice.
Yeah, it's a muscle you gotta flex. But yeah, that's, I just keep trying. We'll see if we get there eventually. This question from Kaylee. Kaz and I have discussed Tegan ascending the stairs in the statue of Valisar on occasion to give it a kiss on the cheek goodnight. What?
Ascended this?
Can you confirm this theory? I vehemently deny this theory.
So that's what Tegan would say if it was true.
Sure. This statement is a lie. Miss Marvel, that's a good question. Mike, how did you get into D&D?
Ooh.
These guys.
This guy.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Reed brought us all together.
To be fair, it was actually Danny's idea.
Really?
To invite you. He said, "Hey, do you know Mike Hegberg?" I said, "Yeah, I know Mike Hegberg." He goes, "He and I like hang out on some Mondays and talk about like design stuff or like creative work, and I think he would enjoy this." And but I knew Mike from high school, but we were never really friends in high school, and so I rolled the dice and.
So wait, you guys weren't super tight before we started playing D&D?
No.
I don't know why I always thought that you, Mike, and Danny were like super close.
Danny and I have been really good friends since 9th grade. But like, yeah, Mike.
You guys just hit it off.
Really, yeah, Mike
really,
and I.
I knew Danny, but we never hung out. He hung out in a different group.
Yeah. Danny was part of the popular kids at our school.
Of course he was.
Everybody likes Danny. And that's not a fault on his. He's just a super likable guy.
Everybody meets him and they go, I think there's something interesting here.
Yeah,
I think he's my best friend now.
I think he's my best friend.
Dan's like,
that's legit. Yeah, and Danny's happy to be that person. So
they're like, Dan, who's your best friend? He's like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
It's still deciding.
So, yeah, Danny can become friends with everybody and oftentimes was friends with everybody because he was the most likable, nice person. There was never any high school drama with Dan. It was great.
Good dude. Except he doesn't show up.
I'm gonna assume he just forgot,
or like something happened.
Yeah, I mean,
we weren't friends in high school though.
You and I?
No,
or you and Danny? Well, how did you guys connect then?
Because now I'm remembering that we used to hang out and play Risk with Andy.
Oh yeah.
But that's when he had his own house. So I was like, that wasn't in high school.
Right. Well, he had it like he had the basement of his house, which was kind of like its own apartment.
Yeah, but this was the whole house.
Oh, okay.
Like we used to play upstairs. I don't think
The house that we sometimes play D&D in, like before the podcast.
In the basement?
Yeah. Remember, like
I got pictures from there.
on South Street.
With the lions,
that
right?
house.
Didn't have
Yeah.
lions on the front porch?
No, I don't think so. Maybe I don't
I
know.
used to play upstairs there.
Is
Okay,
that your
With
house?
Andy.
that's interesting. So
Yeah. I didn't know
it's
him
been
in
since
high
he's been married.
school. Yes.
Oh.
And I knew him from Andy because we were both in his wedding. Or was that in Danny's wedding? I don't know whose wedding I was in.
You were not in Danny's because I was in
in
Danny's.
Andy's.
You were in
wedding.
Andy's, and
And then-
Danny was also in Andy's.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
And
you
then-
guys were like, you guys had similar friend groups.
for sure.
Yeah.
We went to a small school, so everyone kind of knew each other anyways.
Yeah. But we were in different grades.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Mike's a year older than Danny and I. When was the last time any of you were clean shaven?
Childhood?
I don't look good.
My wedding.
Yeah. I don't want to see my chin. I haven't seen it in years, and we're not on talking terms.
I think probably my wedding. Oh no, I take it back. There was one Halloween where I dressed up as Walter White, where I did just the goatee, and then after Halloween I had to go clean shaven, so I wouldn't just have a goatee and look weird. And so after that I went clean shaven, and then since then I don't think I've ever been fully clean shaven, and that was like 5 years ago.
Your
So-
wedding pictures are interesting to look at.
They are. I look a lot younger. I mean, I was young, but I look really young.
Yeah.
My dad, and I'm not mad at my dad, but I mean, like, I'm slightly
It's his genes.
spiteful. Is my dad told me like a couple days before my wedding, he said, "You're gonna shave, right?" I go, "No." I said, "This is my face." He goes, "No, you should shave. You're gonna look back in these photos, years from now and wish you had shaved." And it's the exact opposite. I look back at these photos and think to myself, "Why did I ever shave?" So I think he was just trolling me, even though I wanted to wear an all yellow tux just for him.
Whoa.
Because when he got married, he wore an all yellow tux, and I wanted to honor him
Respect.
in that way. But I ended up not doing that because it would have been aggressive. Babyface pics for the patrons? No, probably not.
Baby face pics?
Like shave your face for patrons.
Maybe for charity. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I'd ever do it for.
Yeah.
We'd have to raise so much money for charity.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get on that Twitch. Danny Newell, if you're looking for something interesting, you found it. Hey, there we go. Question is Danny is this late? Is Josh allowed on the couch? Nope.
I'm really comfortable where
Yeah.
I'm at, actually. This might be my new spot for these.
Is this the origin of why Reed hates dads?
The shaved
Yeah.
beard.
All of Sneaky Talk would be different if
He's got those pictures on his wall every time he comes
I
home.
didn't shave my beard for my wedding. That's a good question. Benjamin, hobbies outside of D&D? Josh?
I have a new one. I'm getting into Gunpla, which is Gundam model sets. And so you guys know the Gundam mobile suits, like
Sounds like some
the really cool cartoon.
hentai thing or
It's
something.
not. No,
I thought you were saying like gunplay.
no,
It's like, all right.
Gunpla. It's Gunpla, and I think it's like Gundam plastic modeling kind of thing. But I have a big one. Kels got me. It's over there. It's really big. Should I bring the box over?
Really big.
Show everybody.
Sure.
It's,
Dongo.
it's a master grade. Hold on.
It's a master grade?
Yeah,
Ugh.
and I'm gonna bust out my airbrush, and I'm gonna. This is the
Oh, I was thinking bigger. But
Strike
in front of
Freedom Gundam.
Reed.
We'll put it right here for everybody to see.
Perfect.
And
Mada.
Mada.
oh my god, that's my new hobby. I can't wait to get into this and put it all together. And then I'm gonna customize the pieces with little scrapers and sanding, and I'm gonna paint it all.
My
You gonna
brother-in-law
live stream it?
My brother-in-law does this.
He does.
Does he really?
Yeah. He does.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you have one like this.
Probably. He's super into Gundams.
You should ask him like, hey, what's the best one you've done?
What's the best?
Nani?
Nani? The Gundam is allowed on the couch, but Josh isn't. Yeah, it knows its place.
It has honor. I don't.
Mike, what hobbies do you have outside of D&D?
Hobbies. I like playing video games. That's like my chill time that I get. I like to hunt, but that's only when my dad asks me to do that. I don't like look for that.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy doing it. I just don't
Don't have like a gun rack in the back of the
No,
Mustang?
my dad has all that. Fishing, hunting, anything that gets me outside. But I'm really like it has to be with like my dad or like someone else. I don't really go and look for that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
You got a couple deers this year, didn't you?
I got one.
You can only you can only get one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's the rule?
Yeah.
Oh, I know a guy who got one.
Well, if you go to like a different state and get another one,
Yeah.
but like
But that's like, what are we doing? Oregon Trail here?
Yeah.
You only need one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a deer this year, and that was fun. Yeah, hanging out with, like going to dinner with Reed and Josh, and eating. Love eating.
Gaming?
big eating fan.
Like eating and gaming.
Yeah.
I
At the
always
same
love
time.
that combo.
Simultaneously.
Kids are in bed. Pop
Sandwich
a
and
cold
milk.
one, Mountain Dew, and I sit down. That feels real good.
Yeah.
Feels great.
Yeah. The Diablo on with all the macros, you don't even got to worry about
Diablo
it.
4 looks so it's gonna be good.
Diablo 4 does look good.
We'll play it in 2020.
3? Yeah, who knows, man.
Reed,
Blizzard soon. Hobbies. I like making eggs.
Okay.
I don't think you can
What
make
kind of
eggs.
eggs?
I think
All
chickens do that.
Yeah, I like preparing eggs.
Yeah. Scramble?
Scrambled is my
Do
specialty.
you take time with it?
I do.
Really?
Here's the thing.
Thank you.
I'm just getting into the point where I'm realizing that cooking is not an impossibility, but I still don't like doing it. But if someone says, hey, Reed, can you make this? I'm going to do it the best way I can make it. And so I'd never grilled a steak before Thanksgiving. And I know you're saying to yourself, Reed, Thanksgiving, why are you grilling steaks in the first place? It was also my sister's birthday. She doesn't like turkey. We agreed to make her a steak. So my dad had foot surgery and he couldn't be standing for long periods of time. And so I was tasked with like manning the grill and preparing the steak. And so I did research. I watched YouTube videos.
That's awesome.
I read documents saying like, this is the best way to prepare this kind of steak, blah, 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 the whole treatment, hour prep. And it turned out really good. But so now like if someone says, hey, let's grill or something, I'll be like, I think I can maybe manage this. But I've also like tried perfecting my scrambled egg recipe. And the last 2 or 3 times we've had scrambled eggs at home, which was Christmas, was the last time. We always make a big breakfast on Christmas. It was the best scrambled eggs I've ever made in my life.
How do you make good? I feel like there's only one way to make scrambled eggs.
Josh.
It's the one egg I'll eat. Like I don't
Josh.
like eggs in general.
Here you go.
For on my French
Here we go.
toast.
Listen. Oh,
And
on French
scrambled.
toast is great. Okay, so here's this is how we're gonna end the stream. It'll be me telling you the best scrambled egg recipe that I know of. Take your pan or your bowl or whatever it is. You crack as many eggs as you like. More eggs, the better, in my opinion. You keep the heat on medium. You don't want to go too high. Keep it on a nice medium and just keep stirring at like pretty regularly. If it doesn't seem like it's hardening or like thickening right away, that's not a problem. After you've got all the yolks broken up and everything starting to like the heat is starting to apply.
Yogurt.
What you do is you take either like whole milk or like some
milk in it.
or creme fraiche or something if you have that, if you're fancy. I just use whole milk. And so I put a little bit of whole milk in there, mix it all in there again, let it get just to the point where it's starting to solidify, and then you put some salt in there, and not a minor amount of salt. So you put some salt and a couple tablespoons of butter. Toss that in there. Keep on whipping. It'll at this point it's starting to actually solidify, and then after a little while, taste it. Probably needs a little bit more salt after that as well. And then once it's actually started solidifying, you've got your salt. You don't want to salt too early because that actually breaks down the proteins, I found out. So you want to salt near the back half of the whole process. And then if you're when you feel like everything is like in a texture and consistency you want. And also, you don't want it to be too dry. You want to cut into it and almost have it be a little runny, almost just a little runny. Then you take some shredded cheese if you want to sprinkle it on top, some like cubed ham if you want to mix that in there too, and then it's ready to serve. It's super simple. It takes about 5 minutes.
Wow.
But it's great. Salt, butter, creme fraiche / milk, some dairy.
Some Christmas ham.
That'll do it. We also made ham.
Wow.
Reed is to egg, says Josh is to Gundam. It's true. I consider myself the best scrambled egg maker that I know.
Except his takes 5 minutes and feeds him. This will probably take me a year and won't feed me.
Yeah, and cost a lot of money and time.
Yeah.
So, anywho, that's it.
See you next year.
See you next year. See you next decade. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys very much. We're goofing. We're having gaffes and goofs over here, but seriously appreciate you guys being patrons, supporting the show, supporting collaborative storytelling. Butt tagging what? Okay, what was the tagging question?
They want to know if you would kiss the statue.
I said no. I said definitive. Deny the rumor. So thank you guys for being patrons. Seriously. I say it at the end of every episode. I say it at the end of this live stream. I say it at the end of bonus podcasts. But that's because it means a lot to me. Your guys' support, you guys being here, you guys being passionate about the show is not something I or any of these guys take lightly. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being fans. Thank you for backing the show and supporting collaborative storytelling. You guys mean the world to us. And I hope that you guys all have a fantastic new year. A great 2020 that was better than 2019. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and don't tear you down. And we'll see you guys next month. Bye. I have to do the awkward lean in to end the stream. Oh, are you sure you want to end? Yeah, I want to end. There was a prompt.